Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK. How are you doing in Tucson? Are you still roasting out there?
Well, actually, we're simmering right now. The roasting is going to take place Sunday. Sunday, they're calling for 108.
Yikes.
Yep, that's exactly
it. Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You can't even
keep that air
door
conditioning.
handles in half the town.
Oh, got to bring out those oven mitts. Gee, that's awful.
Right.
Gosh.
It is.
Well, I'm happy to say it's finally gorgeous in New England. We are ready for summer, and it's so nice to walk out the door, not have to wear a coat. These are the good times of New England. You know how we suffer in the winter. So.
Yes, I certainly do.
We'll talk about that now.
Well, the nice thing is God does balance things out a little bit, doesn't He? You get this beautiful weather now, and we get the oven.
Exactly. Well, we've got a great guest coming up tonight, everybody. Jason Louv is with us. We are so honored to have him because he has a beautiful new book out. It is called John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Enochian Magic and the Occult Roots of the Modern World. And there's a lot to talk about with this topic, so we're going to have Jason on in just a few. But first, we have to find out, PK, what's going on with the numbers?
Well, I'll tell you. We have to remember, I have to preface it with, we were talking about secrets being made known this month and things being told that we didn't expect. Roseanne Barr outdid herself, so that's, her tweeting on her meditation.
That was too bad.
Oh, yeah. That was stupid. But the month itself, we're just one more day and we'll finish with it, but it had to do with secrets being made known. But it deals really strongly with our spiritual side, much to do with our spirituality. And today happens to be a one day which is about new beginnings and new starts about what's taking place. And what better day than to have this lovely book brought to the public for us to talk about tonight. Jason's book is fabulous, and it brings out all the things that one wanted to learn about during this period of time. It's all about new beginnings, but it's coming from the past, giving us pathways to look into that some of us didn't know existed. It's a mind blower. The book is fantastic, and I can't say enough about it because it deals so strongly with all the spirituality that this month has been stockpiling, and now we get to have it at the very end laid out for us in total. Can't wait for the show.
I know. I love this. This is so perfect. This is perfect timing for this material. It really is. And so I just want to bring to everybody's attention, we've got some great stories on our Facebook page, paranormal news that is just incredible. And we have a new perspective on extraterrestrials from Nityanda. It is so interesting. It's a very short video that we posted, but it is definitely worth watching. I thought he did a great little presentation about interdimensionals, extraterrestrials. It was fascinating. And again, it's very short, but it was a lot of fun to listen to. And I think there's some great wisdom in there as well. And also, we have this thing about the disappearing houses. They appear, they disappear. Now, the question is it people's perception that gets shifted and suddenly they're in a different time and they see something that wasn't there before but is from the 1700s or the 1600s? But there's a lot of stories about this, and that's also on our website, I mean, not on our website, but it's on our Facebook page.
Our webpage.
So make sure you go there. Yeah, take a look. I mean, it's a great, great story that's told about how people can shift into other time frames or other dimensions, and they see a totally different reality that apparently nobody else has seen. So, at least in this contemporary world. So it's a lot of fun to read this stuff, but my God, how disorienting that would be, don't you think?
Well, I kind of think it would be disorienting, but at the same point in time, part of the reality I live with on a day-to-day basis, I would like to see in another time.
Yeah. Really, let's shift it, right? Shift it right
After all, we need a break, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we also had another guest on our show who talked about a place in Connecticut where this happened fairly recently, where these people had gotten lost and they were driving around looking for this address. They came upon police and firemen in some type of an accident, they thought. They stopped to ask the police for directions, and the police were not dressed like our police, like normal police, and their cars looked totally different. And they gave them some kind of directions, but they weren't good ones, and so they ended up in back in the same spot. And when they came back to the same spot, everything was gone. No police, no firemen, nothing. It was all gone. So very strange experience there. It happens a lot, apparently, in this little triangle in Connecticut, in the Litchfield Hills. But again, you have to wonder, are they walking into another reality, another dimension? Is it a time slip? And what is it that creates that? What is the mindset, or what is the consciousness that allows for that to happen? It's so interesting.
You know, I've noticed a lot of what transpires seems to take place in the Northeast.
Yeah, you know what?
Have you noticed
it does.
that?
And I wonder, because, I mean, out where you are in the Southwest, you also have some major portals out there. But here we have so much history. I mean, the conflict between the Native Americans and the settlers, and, I mean, there's a lot of energy trapped still to this day in these areas. So it's just fascinating. But I've always wondered, is it that these homes and these houses and these places just reappear, or are people's perceptions shifting to allow them to see it? So it's a great question. Chicken or egg, I think. That's the way this goes. But
that is exactly the way it goes.
Yeah. So make sure, everybody, go to our Facebook page and follow us. Give us a like so you can stay in touch with us there. Of course, you can find us on Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and all those great places, as well as our website, supernaturalgirlz.com. And our Fringe Files newsletter, we are making a transition with that. We're going to make it a video newsletter. So how about that? We're just bringing everything into the 21st century. So keep us, keep posted with us. Yes, it is. It is. So that'll be a nice, entertaining thing to watch every week. Just a very short cap of what's coming up on the show, who we're going to be interviewing, and comments on our last show. Now, last week we had Amy Major, fantastic psychic medium, and her book is all about how to become a rescue medium. So if you didn't hear that show last week, go back to our website or go back to Blog Talk, and you can find it there.
And I wanted to mention something, Patricia, because we have been talking so much on and off about dreams and the dream state of things.
God. Yes.
And I just went through this with one of my clients 2 days ago. And she said, I don't dream. And I said, I used to say I don't dream until you convinced me otherwise, that we all do dream and how things fall into place. And that you have been working with people in the dream analysis element for many years. So catch people up on how to get involved with that.
Yes, I really want to urge people to pay attention to their dreams, especially now when, on the heels of what you just shared, PK, about the spiritual energy that is really built up. This is a great time to write your dreams down. If you don't remember your dreams, that's okay. You just need to start telling yourself every night before you go to sleep, I will remember my dreams. And keep something by your bedside, whether it's your phone that you can make notes on, or just a tablet and a pen, and keep track of those dreams. They're very powerful. And as you know, we had guests on our show not too long ago talking about how people got diagnosed with some serious illnesses from their own dreams. And
exactly.
they also got treatment plans from their own dreams that worked for them. So, yes, it's a very powerful way to get in touch with yourself and to find out what is going on in the deeper levels of your own consciousness. So, yeah, people want to work with me on dreams. You can find me on the website, supernaturalgirlz.com. And if people want a numerological reading with you, PK, they can find you on our website and on your own website, patriciakirkman.com. So it's a good time to find out what's coming up for the summer for you people, and that's the way to do it, in my opinion. So tonight,
we're ready for our guest, that's for sure. I'm chomping at the bit to hear about it.
I know. We got to stop talking and get him to start talking.
Right.
So this is who he is. This man is a scholar. He is the author of 7 books, including Generation Hex, Ultra Culture, and The Psychic Bible. Psychic Bible. That's how it's written. Okay. He runs the high-traffic site ultraculture.org and teaches courses on magic and spirituality at magick.me. That's M-E. He has written for many popular websites, including Boing Boing, Vice News, Motherboard, and Esquire Online. Jason lives in Los Angeles. And Jason, we're so glad to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Now, I got to ask you, Jason, this is quite the book. How long did it take you to write this?
Well, let's see. Well, I first started working on the subject about 15 years ago, but the actual writing of the book took 3 years total, I would say. But pretty much as a full-time job, you know.
That is. And again, everybody, I want to tell you the title again. It's John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Enochian Magic and the Occult Roots of the Modern World. Now, you've covered so much in this book, I kind of hardly know where to begin. But let's talk a little bit about what got you involved with this subject. Why John Dee?
Sure.
Why the Empire of Angels? Why Enochian Magic? What was it that caught your attention about this?
Well, I've been interested in the field of magic and meditation and mysticism and esoteric spirituality and all of this lovely and exciting stuff for probably about 20 years now. And in that time, I have practiced, researched, and involved myself in, immersed myself in every single discipline for consciousness alteration or esoteric spirituality or enlightenment, if you will, that I could find. As part of that, I've traveled all over the world. I've gone up 13,000 feet into the Himalayas to study yoga with gurus. I've become a Sufi. I was initiated as a shaman in the foothills of Nepal and, other normal things you do. But,
For you,
everyone's got to have a hobby, right? And in that time, I became fascinated with Enochian magic, particularly, and John Dee, because it was certainly of all the Western magical traditions that I studied, it was the most fascinating and perhaps potent, and has also, frankly, had the most impact on our world when you consider that it was right there at the center of the creation of not only the British Empire and the American Empire, but the birth of modern science, and it was involved in the birth of the U.S. space program. And it's studying Dee and the Enochian magic that he delivered is a really interesting locus on seeing how magic became science and can tell us a lot about who we are as people and why the world is the way that it is. So for me, it's one of the most fascinating stories in the whole canon of esoteric spirituality, and it's one that has been written about that I really felt deserved the ultimate book, because no one had written the book that pieced the whole story together, and that's what I decided I had to do.
Well, you did it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible. But, I had never, there's a whole bunch of material in here that I had not heard before. And we have interviewed other authors like our good friend Lon Duquette, who we absolutely love and adore. But we hadn't heard some of these key points that you brought out. like the purpose that the angels had in trying to get everybody unified, basically. All these different religions coming together, that was a big goal. That I had never heard before. That was fascinating.
Neither had I. It was something that I discovered in my academic research on the subject, and it was actually that idea that was so shocking that no one had talked about this before. It was finding out that idea that convinced me that this book had to be written. So the deal with John Dee is that John Dee was the court alchemist, court scientist to Queen Elizabeth I. He was an intellectual and a scientist, perhaps the smartest man in Europe of his day. He was also the original 007. That was the code name that Elizabeth gave him in the British Secret Service, which he helped start. He was also fascinated with the occult and with the idea of contacting angels through occult means. One of the ideas that the angels gave him was that there should be a British Empire. He was the person to coin that phrase. And so the very fact that a British Empire even exists comes out of a seance that an alchemist had in talking to angels. But even more shockingly than that, the angels that Dee and his assistant, his psychic assistant, Edward Kelly, helps him with contacting angels over about 10 years. What they were told by the angels in those sessions, if you believe that that's something, if the angels were actually real and not just in their imagination, but whatever that was, the angels told them that there should be one world empire underneath Elizabeth, a new world order, and that there should be one world religion uniting not only Christianity the warring branches of Christianity, so Catholicism and Protestantism, but even Islam and Judaism and paganism, one world religion, so that everyone on earth would be controlled by one political system and one spiritual system under the domination of the angels, so that the end of the world could be brought to hand and the whole story wrapped up. And now that's a pretty apocalyptic story and a pretty intense story if I've ever heard one. So the thing with Dee is that all the people that have, all the people who have written about Dee have either written biographies about him, studying his scientific achievements and discounting all of the magic side of it, or they've written about the magic side without talking about the wider context of his political and scientific work. And when you put those two things together, well, as I've described it before, it's like splitting the atom in reverse. You get the whole picture of what was happening, and you get the whole picture of what's been going on. It's not just Dee, but it's the secret history of Western culture, the secret history that the people who run Western culture have been operating on for the last 500 years, but that they just don't teach us in high school because it's just a little bit too weird.
I guess. But I mean, you talk about John Dee this way, and clearly he's been written about before as a genius. I mean, he had so many talents. He was absolutely brilliant. And now, but Edward Kelly is written about as a psychic, but also a criminal. What happened with that?
Mm-hmm.
So Edward Kelly was a scryer, which is somebody who uses a crystal ball or a piece of crystal as a focus to go into trance. It's not just a stereotypical image of a fortune teller staring into a crystal. What you have to understand is that the crystal was only a tool to use to go into a trance, an altered state of consciousness through which other realms of reality could be accessed, just like in lucid dreaming or hypnosis or something like that. Now,
Sure.
Kelly was half Dee's age. He was an itinerant psychic. He was an alcoholic, overweight, had his ears cut off for forging coins, had been accused of summoning demons and summoning corpses from graveyards, that type of thing. Some of that was scandal and rumor. Some of it was very likely true. He was a dubious individual, whereas Dee was really at the heights of power in Elizabethan England. He was a member of the Elizabethan court. He had the favor of the Queen. Kelly was from the wrong side of the tracks. But it took the two of them working together to really make any headway, because Dee was purely intellectual in his study of the occult side of things. He was purely academic in a way and didn't have psychic faculties or the ability to go into alternate states of consciousness. So we had to rely on Kelly to do that, and Kelly was a genius in his own right with those skills. And the two of them together formed something greater than the sum of it, a whole greater than the sum of its parts, a third mind, as Burroughs and Dyson would have put it.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it, yes. Now, this whole system that they developed and understanding the language was complex, very complex.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that makes their work hard to dismiss, because normally, if you've ever seen channeled writing or the types of message that psychics tend to deliver, it's usually very vague, very flowery. We'll say things like, everything's going to be fine, we're going into a new age of consciousness for the awakening of humanity, and you need to release your karma, and so on and so forth. It's usually quite vague. What Dee and Kelly got was 10 years of things that look like instructions on how to build circuit boards.
Wow.
And what that really was instructions on how to make something called the Holy Table of Practice, which was a ritual setup for making further contact with the angels. And then, of course, the angelic or Enochian language itself, which was a completely new language with its own set of, its own alphabet, its own grammar, its own syntax, more or less. The angel said was the language spoken by angels and language spoken by humanity before the fall from the Garden of Eden. And this language could be used not only to speak with angels, but to directly alter reality itself. So
no
just,
kidding.
And that was just the beginning.
Wow. Now, with you learning all of these things, and obviously having a training that you've had, which is extensive in mysticism and shamanism, all of these wonderful adventures you've had in consciousness, have you mastered the Enochian language? Have you learned it?
Well, I don't think anyone has mastered Enochian. It's so huge. And you mentioned Lon Duquette, who I think is just amazing. And I actually just did a podcast with him a few days ago. I interviewed him for my podcast. And,
oh, no kidding.
Lon, Lon has been working on Enochian for maybe 30 years. I learned Enochian from Lon in one of his workshops 15 years ago. And he has, he says that, even he feels like he's just learning to play, a few basic songs in the great, the great universal symphony of Enochian. I mean, when we're talking about Enochian, we're talking about something that is not for humans necessarily. Humans can see a corner of it, but at least according to the angels, it's the system by which the angels operate. And angels are so many magnitudes of greater in intelligence by far than human beings that we really have to stretch ourselves almost past the limits of human capacity even to begin to start understanding the way they see things, at least in my view. So I've certainly practiced Enochian. I've worked at it for years and years, but I wouldn't say that I've mastered it or perhaps that I ever will.
Gosh, well, again, to me, it looks incredibly complex, and clearly, when you're dealing with spiritual beings of that magnitude, I'm trying to wrap my mind around everything you're saying. I mean, this is a huge, huge step into another experience of reality. So certainly, it would take at least a lifetime to
very
get
mind-boggling. That's for sure.
Yes,
don't feel bad for being mind-boggled. Don't feel bad for being mind-boggled. I've been trying to wrap my mind around it for 15 years, and I'm still struggling with it. So
well, then I feel better. I'm not alone.
My mind expands as I try to stretch it to wrap it around Enochian. So that's good. But it's of the entire. What I say about it is of the entire field of magic, at least of Western magic. It's something like meditation and sigils is arithmetic, and perhaps the Golden Dawn, Crowley, Thelema are geometry and trigonometry. Well, then Enochian is calculus, and it's the advanced calculus and differential calculus of the occult world, and it's something that people don't come to until usually very, very far into their magical career, and even then it's a daunting subject, to say the least. What a fascinating and beautiful subject.
Oh, it is. And you talk about it in the book about it's a primary system. I mean, a lot of these other systems you refer to, they're pieces of the whole or pieced together, I think you've described them as. And yet this is a very pure and primary system. And it looks that way. I mean, you look at the tables that have been created and, oh, my God. I mean, complex. It's so complex. Not complicated, but just complex in its construction. So that's the way you still see it, as something being very primary?
That's right. In my academic training and in studying texts, we were always taught, or in studying history, for instance, there's a huge difference between secondary texts, which is people writing about history and writing down what they think it might have been like and trying to construct a secondhand account of things, and then a primary text being something like somebody's journal entries where they were writing history down happening around them, so or a videotape or some type of written document that was right there, a directly recorded thing. So it's similar with Magick, but the thing that makes Enochian a primary system, to use those words, is that Enochian is top-down delivered instead of bottom-up reconstructed. So most forms of magic, let's say the Golden Dawn, or even neo-paganism, so Northern neo-paganism, or the various neo-pagan reconstructionist movements that we've seen in the 20th century, well, all of those are trying to put something together that's somebody's best guess. We think this is how it might have worked back in ancient Egypt. We think this is how it might have worked back in ancient Scandinavia. We don't really know, but this is our best guess. With Enochian, the angels show up and say, this is how it works. We're going to give you the exact instructions. Do it exactly as we say. We're delivering you the primal magic system from the dawn of history. So a little bit different.
Yeah.
And a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
At least
fascinating.
A little bit more.
Now, do you have an Enochian table?
I sure do. I built one. Yeah.
Ooh.
You did?
It took me about a year.
How long did it take you to do that?
About a year.
Oh, wow.
It's a grueling process.
I think it must be. And these tables are absolutely gorgeous. I know I have a picture of one of Lon's. I think Lon has a table also, because I remember him sending me a photo of it. And they're beautiful. Again, very beautiful.
Yeah, those tablets, by the way, are maybe about 5% of the entire thing, 10% of the entire thing that you have to build. They're just one facet. There's several dozen Enochian implements that have to be built and put together. And the Enochian tablets are not the Enochian table. The Enochian tablets sit on top of the Enochian table, which is a 3-foot by 3-foot altar that is made up of all kinds of wax and metal sigils and all kinds of stuff, silk. And then the scrying ball. It's a serious undertaking.
It is.
Do you have a picture of your table?
No, I don't. I haven't released a picture of that. It's mine. It's my private table.
I understand. It's special.
Yes, and it's yours. And so you use this in magical ceremony?
Well, I've done a lot of Enochian. Some Enochian the table helps with. Some you don't need it. I've done it both ways. I've spent a lot of time. I spent a tremendous. That's why I said at the beginning. You asked me how long it took me to write this book. I said 15 years, but 3 years. It took me 3 years to write the book, but I was experimenting with Enochian off and on for 12 years before that, both by myself and in groups. People that I chose to work, thought to bring on to help me work on the system. But so that in itself is just understanding the system is a tremendous undertaking. But understanding the history and Dee and all of that is a whole other level to it.
Well, again, we can't recommend your book more highly. I mean, this is the book. And it's called John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Enochian Magic and the Occult Roots of the Modern World. We are speaking with Jason Louv tonight on Supernatural Girlz Radio, and we're going to take a very short commercial break. I see there's people calling in. They may have questions for you, Jason, so we're going to try to get to all of that tonight. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
Astridian is a family of cosmetic products with 98% pure ionized minerals. We combine our science with a blend of essential oils to nourish and take care of your skin's health. How does it work? All Astridian products contain the proprietary redox technology, having the capability of simulating an ionic zinc-copper superoxide dismutase effect. This free radical scavenger currently in your body has been diminished by toxins and the daily stresses of life. It is a perfectly balanced mineral complex that all $200 an hour dermatologists, their professors, and ancient history have proven. Redox technology is a process of reducing the skin's oxidation by transferring electrons from a radical state to a stress-free normal condition. Oxidative stress is a form of cellular aging, and as science has proven, a precursor to disease. The free radical theory of aging states that organisms age because cells accumulate free radical damage over time. Damaged cells are not beautiful, but healthy cells are. The Astridian family is presented in 4 different uses that cover unique benefits to your body. They are the Essential Anti-Aging Series, the Multivitamin Series, Sports Series, and Professional Series. Regain your youth with the power of Astridian. Visit www.astridian.com and inquire. Use the code SUPERNATURAL and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Astridian, the beauty of being healthy.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the 5th dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our great guest tonight, Jason Louv, is with us. He is the author of a new book, and it is called John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Enochian Magic, and the Occult Roots of the Modern World. So, my gosh, where do we go from here? Jason, tell us about, well, I have a question, first of all, from the chat room. They want to know, did Dee and Edward Kelly ever see these angels? Did he ever have visions of them?
They saw them on a daily basis. I mean, you have to remember these guys were doing these rituals to contact angels 2 to 3 times a day on a pretty punishing time schedule for 7+ years. And absolutely, and they saw them both in, Kelly saw them in trance states, saw them within the scrying crystal, but increasingly as the sessions went on, they saw them in the house with them. They would see apparitions of them out and about in the world. It was pretty nonstop for them. And when we're talking about angels, by the way, this is not Hallmark card angels. This is not rosy-cheeked cherubs. This is, when they saw angels, they were talking about seeing beings made of wings covered in eyes, and with giants with heads of suns and pillars of brass for legs, and female angels and sexual angels. And at one point they see God, and God is not an old man with a white beard, but a giant whale covered with eyes.
A whale?
So yeah, they saw him all right.
Oh, good Lord, scary.
Oh my goodness.
They saw him all right.
So they did. And I don't know, I guess they wouldn't have written about it, or maybe they did. Did this strike them with any kind of fear, or were they comfortable with seeing what they saw?
Religious terror. I mean, most of what they were seeing was so frightening to them that, not in a bad way, but in a way that they were, it was shock and awe for them, and it, they were constantly begging for repentance, to repent, and for their souls to be saved, because they were constantly being confronted by these very, very Old Testament angels and flaming swords, explaining to them how they would be damned forever for even the slightest transgression. It was, they were being spiritually educated and spiritually trained in the angel school, but they were harsh schoolmasters, and so most of the sessions they spent in a state of religious terror and religious awe, alternately.
Gosh, well, that doesn't sound very pleasant, but they continued for 10 years. But here's a question for you. They committed themselves to this endeavor. They did an incredible job, and yet the goal of the angels didn't manifest. How come?
Well, did it or didn't it? I think that one of the ways that people trip themselves up when they get interested in magic or this side of things is they expect things to be too literal, and they expect things to happen on their timeline, their time scale.
Good point.
Angels or gods or spirits, whatever you want to call them, they don't live in the same world as humans, or the same plane of reality as humans. They live outside of the surface of time, as the writer Kenneth Grant put it. And so a lot of times what happens is, for instance, Dee and Kelly kept getting predictions from the angels that the world would end in 88. That's all they said, 88. And Dee and Kelly assumed that this meant 1588. And then when nothing happened in 1588, although Dee did turn back the Spanish Armada, which is a turning point in the history of the entire world, when the world didn't end in 1588, they assumed that the angels were fabricating all of this information and giving them incorrect information. Well, they never said 1588. They just said 88, and it was Dee and Kelly that interpreted it as 1588. So, and similarly, so the angels say that the world is coming to an end, the Antichrist is here, the entire world must be brought under one dominating government and religion. Well, did that happen in Dee's lifetime? No. But if we look at the last 400 years of history kind of sideways, if you will, and consider that perhaps the spread of global capitalism, the spread of the neoliberal world order, the colonization of the entire planet by first the British and then the American Empire, which of course are Christian empires, and the colonization of so many indigenous and aboriginal people at sword points and being forced to convert to Christianity in an ongoing global tragedy, perhaps. Well, then did the angel's plan happen or didn't it? I'm not convinced that it didn't. I just think that sometimes we need to look at things sideways a little bit and not be quite so literal, because magic is not literal. This is why people always discount it. Magic is quite subjective and fuzzy in a way, because it's talking about levels of reality that are not rational and are not, can't be put on a clocked timeline or something like that. When we're dealing with magic, we're dealing with the symbolic and archetypal levels of reality. We're dealing with the levels of, how meaning is constructed by human beings from generation to generation. It's a very, very different level of the human experience as a whole, if you will, than, your to-do list or your list of what you're going to be eating for dinner for the next week. Those are different things, and they can't be mixed up. So I'm not convinced the angel's plan didn't happen. And when we talk about the end of the world, by the way, everyone assumes there will be a specific date where the world will end. I don't think so. I think the end of the world is an ongoing process. I think if you look at the last 300, 400 years, what have we seen? The disintegration of everything, the disintegration of the world's traditions, the disintegration of the environment, the disintegration of art and language and the imagination. When you consider that in Elizabethan England, Shakespeare was the art for even the common people, and now we can barely read Shakespeare, and not just because of the archaic English, but because we just can't get that level of subtlety of meaning. We've lost that faculty, despite the fact that our technology has advanced so much. Religion has ended. Nobody is religious. Nobody has, pays any credence whatsoever to the idea that there are deeper levels of reality by which their conduct must be measured, perhaps. And so I think if John Dee was to time travel to 2018, he would consider this the end of the world. So it's an ongoing process, and that's how we have to look at these things. It's not like there's a specific date or a specific prophecy. We have to look at magical thinking and magical prophecies as perhaps poetic descriptions is a good way to look at it. Poetic descriptions of deeper levels of meaning and things to come.
Well said. It makes a lot of sense in how you discuss this. Yes, that's very understandable now. Now, when they went through all of this construct and all of these communications and channeling and scrying, they talk about, here's the question, the watchtowers. Can you break that down for us? What are the watchtowers?
So the watchtowers are the Enochian tablets, and they are related to the four directions, the four cardinal directions, and they're also related to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I think that they are essentially dimensional gateways that are to be opened as the world ends. And that's not literal, as in you saw like a dimensional gateway open in the sky somewhere. These are gateways that are opened in the deep parts of human consciousness. And that's the watchtowers. That's one way of understanding the watchtowers. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes to be quite honest with you, when we're talking about questions like this, I have to think about what I should say publicly and what I should just keep to myself, not because I don't think people shouldn't know things, but because, we're talking about apocalyptic architecture. So
okay, we don't want to scare everybody.
You have to tease us into it, because sometimes we don't understand until we get it smacked right in our forehead. You know that.
Right.
Okay. Well, look, the world is coming to an end, right? And that doesn't mean, as I've touched on before, it doesn't mean that the skies are going to open up and there's going to be angels and demons and brimstone and all that left behind nonsense. It's not like that. It means that all of the structures of human culture are crumbling and are being reborn and rebuilt as something new, and the human project is disintegrating. All we have to do is turn on the news to see that. The question is it disintegrating and ending, or is it dying and being reborn? Well, if you look at nature, everything in nature is in a constant process of dying and being reborn. Plants spring up and then are cut down and then die and then become fertilizer for the next ones. And the form is similar, but it's a new plant. So humans are the same, animals are the same. Well, why would cultures and civilizations be any different? But I think it's important to be very hermetic about things. So the Hermetic magicians have the dictum, as above, so below. They look to nature to understand the spiritual world, the higher realms. And I don't think that the spiritual realms and human culture are outside of nature. I think everything is part of nature, all the way down to language and culture and meaning and our capacity to mythologize, and all of this stuff is part of nature. So I think that, worlds are constantly ending and being born, and the end of the world and the apocalypse is part of human existence. It's something, everybody has an apocalypse. Everyone dies, right? The world comes to an end for everyone individually, and if we're lucky, it may come to an end for us many times in our life, and then be reborn before the final, so that we get used to it. But I think it's the same for cultures. I think it's the same for whole continents, perhaps whole civilizations, whole iterations of humanity, without going out too far on a limb. So that's how I feel about it.
No, I mean, it sounds like the embodiment of the phoenix for all of us individually and then as a planet as well, which I guess when you put it in those terms, you can understand that. It makes certain sense, that's for sure. But for you, when you've done this kind of work and you've studied it for so long and you've used it in your own magical practice, now, have you encountered these angels yourself?
Well, it's funny. I think that everyone that you talk to that does Enochian, it's different for everyone. And what Dee and Kelly saw is probably not what people who might do Enochian these days will see. One of the reasons for that is that the magical visions that one experiences while doing Enochian are generated by whatever's already in your head. Everything has to be formed out of some type of clay, some type of base clay. And that's kind of what's already embedded in your nervous system in most cases. So I've had many unbelievable and intense and profound and shocking and enlightening and terrifying experiences doing Enochian magic, but none of them have been the same as Dee and Kelly's. None of them have been the same as Crowley's. And I think that's as it should be, because it's a very personal thing. It's individualized for each person.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that you're a very powerful magician. I really do, and it must be very exciting to have
what does
access.
That mean? I'm curious.
I don't know, but I just sense that with you.
Can you send that information to the IRS, please?
Yeah,
can you tell the IRS that? We'll see what they say about
you?
it.
They better not bother you.
No, they're not bothering me. I just mean,
no, but
you just ignore them.
That's right. You don't have to pay attention to them. You're a magician. But no, really, I sense that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You carry a lot. You carry a lot of this power, and it's interesting, because the way I am sensing your energy is it's not something that you are bragging about, you're very humble about the work that you do, but it's powerful. And how nice for people, because people can, I guess you're teaching classes, right? So people can study with you?
I am teaching classes, and I want people to be empowered, because we live in a time, in a period in history where people are very confused, where because we do live in the end of the world, frankly, where, people don't have a lot of guiding structure. They don't really have a sense of what they should be doing with their lives in many cases. People are no longer religious. They don't have religious bodies to turn to, and the media, and certainly social media, are of no help to people in constructing meaningful lives. So I want people to be empowered, but I want people to be empowered to live the lives that are right for them, to live their true wills, to lead the life that they're meant to live, and not just empowered individually, but empowered to help the world and help those around them, and be empowered as a community. It's not just about the individual. The individual empowerment can only go so long before it becomes sociopathy, and
right.
All we have to do is look at our current president to see that. without going too far down that rabbit hole. But it's about network empowerment. It's about people being empowered as a group, together, and doing human life in a meaningful and profound and loving way. So that's how I feel. And so I, of course, teach courses online at magick.me. That's magic with a K, magick.me. And I do teach Enochian magic, but I also teach everything from basic chaos magic and meditation, hardcore meditation, Raja Yoga, esoteric Buddhism, astral projection, lucid dreaming, tarot, I Ching, all kinds of great stuff, ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn type magic, and there's a lot more coming because I'm really focusing on growing that site out right now. And there's a big community of students who are very, very sincere and interested, which has been a great surprise and for me, and that I'm very, very excited about seeing how much interest there is that people have. So yeah, that's magick.me.
Sounds fabulous.
Well, that's terrific. Yeah, really. I mean, I want to encourage people to go there if our audience has interest, and I know they do, in these types of things, because I really know, and I know PK, you know this too, that you're a very good teacher, Jason, and you're very you're helping a lot of people to get the direction they need. As you mentioned, there is a lot of confusion out there, and people are looking for a right path. And there's certainly a lot of choices in what you're teaching where people can find their right path, whether it's I Ching or the yoga or whatever, meditation or chaos magic, whatever they're drawn to. So you have a tremendous amount of choices. I love that name, Chaos Magic, and I've got people texting me right now saying, what is chaos magic? So we're going to have to go there for a minute. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, by way of segueing into that topic, I will say that the great thing about magic, you talk about people finding a path and things like that, the great thing about magic is it's not a dogma. It's not telling you to believe something. It's actually not, and it's not telling you to do anything, certainly. Magic is really the best of all worlds. It's kind of the perfect medium in that you get all the tools and the sacred experiences and the deep meaning of religion, because you get the tools to induce the religious experience without the dogma of religion and the rules and people telling you what to do or not to do. So in magic, we have the idea of the true will, which is that every individual has a true will, something that they are here to do, something that they incarnated to do, their role in the world, the thing that is most true and right for them on the deepest level. And that's not something specific like a job or a career or something like that. It's the person that they're meant to be, truly meant to be, and that they will be in a state of disappointment and despair if they don't become. I think we all have that, but the beautiful thing is that it's different for everybody. Everyone's got a different orbit in this cosmos. Everyone's got a different true will. And so what magic offers and what magic is a set of tools to uncover that and then to be empowered to do it. And so, yes, I offer all these different things, chaos magic, astral projection, tarot, all these things, but it's not that they're different paths. It's just that they're different tools for accomplishing that central task, which is discovering what one truly wants to do with one's life and then becoming empowered enough to do it, to have the strength to do it. Because we do live in a culture that greatly discourages that and just wants people to play it small, take the safe route, take the safe job, and, tune out on Netflix or whatever. And that's not enough for everyone. That's not enough for a lot of people. It might be enough for some people, and that's wonderful. Some people want something more, and Magick.me is for those people. So chaos magic, to specifically answer your question, in the context of what I've just said, chaos magic is not necessarily a branch of magic as much as it is an attitude. And chaos magic is really the punk rock of magic. It's the idea that you don't need, and it happened at the same time in the 70s. It's the idea that you don't need dogmas, you don't need systems, you don't need, prior to chaos magic, magic had always been part of different religions. You had to follow a certain religious path to do it, whether that's Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever it is, Sufism, or you don't need that. You don't need the gods, all of that. You don't need to believe in anything. That actually belief is antithetical, to magic, and that all you need to do magic is, good enough intention and altered states of consciousness, and you just need the techniques of generating religious experiences and magical experiences. But you don't need to believe anything. You don't need to buy into a dogma or believe that gods are literally real. In fact, you can make up your own gods and religions and spiritual systems, and it'll work just as good in some cases as some established religion. But it came out of you. It's yours alone. So chaos magic is the attitude of approaching magic and spirituality and religion as an artistic process in which everything is up for grabs.
Gosh, it sounds like fun. That's terrific.
Oh, it's great. yeah. Next thing you know, you'll spent 20 years doing it.
Yeah.
It's the greatest show on earth, in my opinion. The greatest secret show, as Clive Barker called it. Yeah.
Well, somebody's also writing in. They want to know how much you charge. How much do you charge for your classes, Jason? Are they all different prices, or?
So most of the courses are $55, but I have a great subscription package, which is $49 a month to watch all of them. And
wow,
those prices may be going up in the near future because my students, because of my students, they keep emailing me and telling me on our live calls, because I do live Q&As as part of this also. For people who are subscribed, you can ask me a question in live video. My students keep saying, dude, you're giving us please stop. You're giving us way too much. You need to charge more. You're really selling yourself short. I think they're concerned for my well-being. So my students are urging me to charge more for my own well-being. So the prices are probably going to go up soon, but that's the price now, and anybody who gets it at that price currently will be grandfathered in if I raise the prices, which will probably be in about a week or two.
Okay, well, everybody, you better jump on now.
How many do you anticipate? How many classes do they take? How many sessions are involved?
Well, right now there's 50. So it's completely up to the person how much they want to go in or not. And of course, they can stay subscribed for as little or as long of a period of time as they want. But right now, there's about 15 classes on the site, which are each between 3 to 6 hours each. So there's a lot of material there, a lot.
Yeah,
and I'm constantly adding to it. Yeah, I've been adding tons just recently, so it's growing. But people can choose their own pathway through it. Some people are more interested in, for instance, some people are just interested in the meditation part, and that's great. Some people are interested in the much more hands-on chaos magic thing. Some people just want to learn tarot or I Ching. Different people are attracted to different things because there's no one right way or right path for everyone. Everyone's got a different way of approaching this. So I just want to put all the tools out there without telling people what to believe. I just want them to have the tools so they can do them right and then come to their own conclusions about what it all means. So for them, for their life.
Well,
it's just fun.
Fascinated by Da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, with Christ holding the crystal ball in his hand, and thinking that.
Oh my God.
That was just fascinating to see that. The feel of that. It just has a draw towards me that I never thought about before.
Yeah, you know what? That image I saw, that was the very last thing that I put in the book, that the team, the publisher at Inner Traditions, we got into the book, because that painting, so Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci, which is this beautiful image of, it's kind of a lost Da Vinci of Christ holding, it's supposed to be Christ holding the world, the Savior of the world, Salvator Mundi. So he's holding an orb, which in the art of the time was meant to represent the world and regency and kingly power. Yet, if you look, it looks like a crystal ball. And the hilarious thing, this is the hilarious thing, that when they found this, there's still this huge debate. Was this really a Da Vinci? Because they look at the the crystal ball, and they say, well, the perspective is off. It looks spectral or ghostly. Da Vinci must have, Da Vinci knew better technical form than to draw a crystal object this way. But they never considered, well, maybe he wanted it that way because he wanted it to look spectral and ghostly, It's like they never consider that because they're so literal. Now, of course, I saw that and immediately I understood what it was. It's a scrying ball. It's Christ holding a scrying ball. Mm-hmm. What Da Vinci is saying with that is that you can use this technique, the scrying technique that Dee and Kelly were using, and more than them, but all the other magicians of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, the pre-Enlightenment period. They used that scrying ball to contact angels as a way to directly access the religious realms instead of relying on the dogma of the church. And so what Da Vinci is saying is, it's Christ saying, here's how you call me, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the scrying ball. This is the tool you use. And
my goodness.
So, but the thing is, right? So here's the thing. So that painting went up on auction. I think the week before the book went to the printers, and it was auctioned. It was the highest selling auction for a piece of artwork at Sotheby's ever. Something like $4.5 million or something like that. I think it sold to like a Saudi Arabian oil sheikh or something like oil baron, something crazy like that.
Absolutely fascinating.
But I saw it, and it was just in time. It was like, that has to go in the book. It's perfect. It's the perfect image to bring out the central theme of the book, and so beautiful also because it shows that magic is a holy art and a good art and is a true path to religion and not all this crap that people have associated with it. It's like, black magic and Satan and Aleister Crowley and the devil and all this stuff. It's like, no, that's people's misperception of it. And so I was so grateful that showed up, and it was just the perfect thing to put in the book. I'm glad that you picked up on it.
Well, it was strange. I told Patricia just before we started the show that I difficulty sleep on occasion. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I turned on TV, of course, and you're thumbing through, and what pops up but this painting, and they were talking about it being sold and everything about it. I'm sitting there going mind-boggling because it is so totally gorgeous and something I hadn't even thought about, never saw before. And then when I got your book and I opened it up, and there's the picture looking back at me again, and I'm going, oh, wow. I've got to do more research on this.
It's a beautiful image. And, isn't it hilarious, by the way that modern scholars think about these things? They look at Da Vinci, this couldn't have been a Da Vinci because Da Vinci didn't know what he was doing. He didn't, he wouldn't have painted a crystal ball like this. Or they look at John Dee, like, John Dee thought he was talking to angels. Well, he must have been crazy or just superstitious because he lived 500 years ago. And they never stop to think, well, hang on. These are some of the greatest geniuses in world history, and we assume we know more than them? I don't think so.
Right. That's right. It's a great way to put it. Well, we're going to take another very short commercial break, everybody. So stay tuned. Hang tight. We will be right back with Jason Louv, who is the author of a great new book that we've been discussing tonight, which is called John Dee and the Empire of Angels. You will find that photograph of that painting in this beautiful book. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience? of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Astridian is a family of cosmetic products with 98% pure ionized minerals. We combine our science with a blend of essential oils to nourish and take care of your skin's health. How does it work? All Astridian products contain the proprietary redox technology, having the capability of simulating an ionic zinc-copper superoxide dismutase effect. This free radical scavenger currently in your body has been diminished by toxins and the daily stresses of life. It is a perfectly balanced mineral complex that all $200 an hour dermatologists, their professors, and ancient history have proven. Redox technology is a process of reducing the skin's oxidation by transferring electrons from a radical state to a stress-free normal condition. Oxidative stress is a form of cellular aging, and as science has proven, a precursor to disease. The free radical theory of aging states that organisms age because cells accumulate free radical damage over time. Damaged cells are not beautiful, but healthy cells are. The Astridian family is presented in 4 different uses that cover unique benefits to your body. They are the Essential Anti-Aging Series, the Multivitamin Series, Sports Series, and Professional Series. Regain your youth with the power of Astridian. Visit www.astridian.com and inquire. Use the code SUPERNATURAL and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Astridian, the beauty of being healthy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host in Tucson, PK, and our guest tonight, Jason Louv, who is the author of a new book, The Empire of Angels. It's John Dee and the Empire of Angels. A great book. It's a beautiful book. I think, Jason, you should win an award for this book. I really do.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
It's that good. Yes.
Well, feel free to nominate me for any you can think of.
Well, we'll do that.
We'll nominate you, no question about that. Now, one of the things that I noticed in the book is you talk about at the very beginning the different kind of hierarchy, I guess, for lack of a better term, the seraphim, the cherubim. Can you tell us a little bit about this hierarchy? Because I know people have often asked questions about it. It's never really been clear to me what the answers are.
Yeah, so, by the way, this is actually theological. This is, held to be theologically true by both the Catholic and the Orthodox Church. So this is not a fringe thing. This is mainstream Christian belief in the Catholic and Orthodox churches. So the hierarchy of angels comes from a theologian named Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite in about the 5th century, and was later picked up by people in the Renaissance, people like Marsilio Ficino and several others. Even Thomas Loyola talks about it. But it's the idea that there are 9 ranks of angels, the very top being seraphim, followed by cherubim, and then there's dominions, thrones, powers, and principalities, all the way down to, and then there's virtues, all the way down to archangels, and then angels. And angels are the lowest rank of angels overall. And the angels tend to be the guardian angels that look out over individual people in their life. But it when we're at the lower end of the scale, where the angels tend to appear human and not particularly different from human beings. Those are the angels you can think of with white robes and wings and that type of thing. although they don't always appear with wings. But as you go further up the scale, it starts to get weirder and more psychedelic and bizarre, and in some cases frightening. And that's when people start to meet beings like the beings from the book of Ezekiel, wheels of wings, and then the seraphim are said to have 6 wings with eyes in them, 2 covering their head, 2 covering their feet, and 2 by which to fly, their eyes and their wings by which they see, and lots of that kind of thing, lots of eyes and lots more wings. It's just eyes and wings everywhere as you go further up the scale.
Oh my goodness! Now,
so that's one of the things people don't realize about angels, and I really wanted to bring this out because people assume that angels are very milquetoast and Hallmark card, but no, it's very profound and deep world mythology.
Kind of scary in a way.
It's more abstract.
Well, God is scary, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you
again,
know the word
it's
reverence?
the point of reference. I'm sorry, Jason. Say that again.
Do you know the word reverence?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course, this is for listeners who may not know this. Reverence is the attitude counseled in Christian prayer manuals from the Middle Ages. For instance, the book *The Cloud of Unknowing*, which is a classic of Christian mysticism. And that book says that the proper attitude to take towards God in the higher realms is reverence, and reverence is a combination of love and fear. To be in awe of God, but to be afraid because the how else can you humble yourself? Because the whole point of Christian mysticism, the whole point of mysticism is to humble yourself before the divine. It's not to make yourself a big deal. It's to fit yourself to the divine order. And, this is an idea that has been lost in modern times and even in modern mysticism or the New Age. And I say in the book, the whole point of mysticism is sanctification and illumination. So sanctification is the destruction of the ego, the destruction of the individual practitioner's story about who they think they are. And illumination is then filling them with divine wisdom so that they can be fit to what God wants for them. And that's not just mysticism. That's mainline Christian theology. And one of the interesting things about this book is understanding how little difference there really is.
Well, you've also talked about in one of your other interviews that I heard about our evolution actually being helped in a great way by communicating with these other entities, whether they be angelic or something else from another dimension. This is all a good thing, and it helps us create our own freedom. So can you expound on that a little bit more? Because I really liked what you were talking about. I agree with that completely.
Well, it's not necessarily all a good thing, because when we're talking about spirit, or the spirit world, or whatever you want to call that, the astral plane, the non-physical parts of consciousness, it's full of all kinds of things. It's full of as many different things as the physical world is full of people, and you have to be careful what you're doing. You have to make sure you're talking to the right beings. Now, in terms of angels as a specific class of being, I think that yes, absolutely. I mean, angels are the next level of evolution up from human beings. Right? And demons are far down, right? Down far further down the scale even than animals. But angels are the next step of evolution past us. And so the whole Elizabethan theory of magic is that the way to evolve, evolution is a modern concept, but for them the idea of the way to be sanctified is to, make contact with the next level up. I mean, you can think about it in these terms. Even in the physical world, in your human life, your life is going to be a lot different depending on who you hang out with. If you hang out with people who are doing better than you and are smarter and happier than you, then you're gonna evolve a lot quicker than if you were hanging out with people with standards lower than yours. If you hang out with people with low standards who don't want anything for their lives, who just want to get along and get by to get along, and or people who are into drugs, that type of thing, people who are sliding down or sliding backwards, then your standard will meet theirs eventually, and you will backslide just as fast as they are. Whereas if you hang out with people who are, doing much better than you, then you'll evolve much quicker. Why would it not be? Why would it be any different in the spiritual world? If you hang out with angels, you're going to evolve pretty quick, as frightening and painful as it may be, right? Because the hallmark of a real religious, if spiritual experiences are all comfortable, then you're probably deluding yourself. If they're all, flattering you and making you seem great, then you're probably deluding yourself. I think that real spiritual experiences and religious experiences are often terrifying because they crack our egos. They show us what we're doing wrong. They show us where we're getting it wrong and where we're deficient and where we're screwing up as human beings, and that's not pleasant. But it's a lot more pleasant than not learning. The true, to truly hurt somebody, how do I put this? It's far worse to just let somebody carry on doing something that will destroy them than to get angry at them and temporarily give them discomfort and suffering to show them that they're doing something that's going to destroy them, if that makes sense.
It does. So it's really pushing your limits quite a bit when you're encountering these higher force entities. And they certainly did challenge John Dee and Edward Kelly. I mean, they constantly challenged them, according to what you found out for your book.
Yeah, they did not give them an easy ride. But there are many points in the book where Dee and Kelly are overwhelmingly grateful and thankful. They see, the angels are cruel taskmasters, and are quite strict and severe and constantly threatening them and things like this. But what all they're threatening them with is showing them what's going to happen if they keep on doing what they're doing and screwing up. And so, at a soul level, and so. There are many points in the diaries where Dee and Kelly fall to their knees and are tears flowing from their eyes in utter gratitude, saying, to the angels of steering them towards the truth.
Yeah, and I guess it is hard to hear sometimes. I can't imagine what it was like living back then and having this incredible conscious, mind-blowing experience with these other beings. So, I mean, were they basically criticized by their contemporaries for doing what they did?
Kelly, it was impossible to criticize Kelly because he was already practically seen as a criminal, but Dee's career was destroyed. His career had already been on the rocks, but he nobody took him seriously. He was more or less outcast from court. He couldn't get any of the monarchs of Europe to be interested in the stuff he was trying to tell them. Dee's life in the real world pretty much fell apart. He lived in extreme poverty for most of his life, but particularly during this period, because he was spending more time talking to these spectral beings than he was doing work, Which, by the way, is the real danger of magic. Everyone says, is there any danger with magic? Well, the danger is it's just like video games, It's like if you get too obsessed with it, you're going to drop all your other duties. And people think that,
exactly.
that it doesn't matter. But no, you got to take care of business too, They certainly did not have an easy ride.
Neither one of them did, and at one point, didn't they try to ask, or maybe Edward Kelly was the one who tried to ask them for money because they didn't have any, and the angels refused to help them with that.
That's right. Well, they were constantly asking for money, and the angels were tremendously frustrated with that. The angels were telling them, look, you worked for your whole life to figure out how to get the divine wisdom of angels and contact angels, and now we're here and you've done it and you're asking us for money. What is wrong with you? To which Edward Kelly replied, well, what if we just borrow money? Is that okay?
And they still said no.
That's when the angels started to get pretty frustrated with them.
But I can understand that. I've often said, how do they know what it's like to live on this plane where you need to have money so that you can eat and have a roof over your head? Mm-hmm. And they don't seem to have, the angels didn't seem to have any interest in that at all, which I found fascinating too.
Right.
Not in a happy way.
Yeah, that's right. And this is one of the other challenges of magic, which is translation between levels, where I think that it goes both ways. Humans don't understand what it's like to be on those levels of existence. But they often don't understand what it's like to be here because they don't have bodies. So this is a difficulty, and this is Aleister Crowley calls this confusing the planes, and that you need to take each plane on its own level instead of assuming they translate to each other. So that's an important thing to bear in mind in magic. Just because something is true on one level of reality doesn't mean it directly applies to another.
Yeah, because it didn't translate at all here. And these poor guys that worked so hard and brought us, even centuries later, today, such a magnificent piece of the puzzle, but they weren't treated well when they lived back then. So it's just a shame, really. It's kind of sad.
It is, but that said, I do have to give that a caveat, which is that the fact that Dee had some struggles has often been used, actually for hundreds of years, has been used by people to say, oh, well, look, like Dee ended in misery, therefore magic is bad news. And they say the same thing with Crowley and lots of other people, which is hilarious because, I'll tell you, just from my own experience, if you're doing magic and you don't have money, people will say, oh, well, magic is, will lead to ruin. And, if you don't have money, why don't you just manifest yourself some money if you're such a great magician? And then if you do get money, they'll say, well, in my case, it's like, well, how dare you, charge to do courses for magic or something like that. It's just, people are never pleased. People are just, they're chattering, they chatter away, So there's no way to please people, so I've just given up completely. I just do not care anymore. But I do have to say that for Dee really did rise to as high of a position as he could have in Elizabethan England, given his social background and his class and his training. We have to remember that England is an incredibly rigid class society, and it's not like there's a whole lot of leeway to move out of where you're born. And that said, I mean, yes, Dee suffered tremendous hardships in his life. He lost many children and his wife to the plague. He suffered tremendous hardship. He was constantly in debt, things like that. But look, it was, Elizabethan England was practically a third world country. It was the Middle Ages. Everyone had a hard time of it. Sir Francis Walsingham, who was the person who started the British intelligence services, also went into debt just to start them. He didn't get any great gifts from Elizabeth either. So, we have to put that in context and be very careful about saying that magic is some type of causative factor in people having a hard time of things. We have to be very scientific and clear about that because, it was the 1500s, It's not like it was Club Med.
Those
not
were hard
hardly.
times. Yeah, real hard times back then. So tell us, you've mentioned Crowley a couple of times. What's your take on Crowley? What do you think of him and his work?
So Crowley was a very intelligent, very multifaceted individual that anybody who comes into magic has to grapple with, I think. And Crowley was such a complex, multi-layered being that there's parts of him that are unbelievably inspiring and genius and profound beyond words, perhaps in many cases beyond any of his contemporaries or perhaps many other historical spiritual teachers. And there are parts of Crowley that are utterly horrific and degraded and evil and terrible and psychopathic. And those things exist within, at least theoretically, all existed in one person's lifetime. But this is a person whose personality changed every few years of their entire life. So with Crowley, we have to. I think that the best way to take Crowley. I mean, look, Crowley died a long time ago, right? Crowley died in the 1940s. He died long before any of us were born. I'm assuming, and well. Most people, well, okay, I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about when he was born. He was born long before any of us were born. But he died a long time ago, right? And so I think that the best way to take Crowley now for modern students is to take him almost as a Zen cone, right? It's like how can such profound truth and such utter degradation exist in one person, and just take it as a Zen cone, and certainly don't get wrapped up in trying to emulate what he did and that type of thing.
No, definitely.
So that's how I view Crowley. It's like, Crowley is, he's there. He's something to learn from. He's a source to learn from for good and bad, of things to do and things definitely not to do. Right. Certainly he spent decades as a hard drug addict. He was quite terrible to people around him. He was a mess personally, and yet many of his writings are of profound value, I think. And particularly, it's not just his writings, by the way, because a lot of his writing is just like him running his mouth, but it's the work that he did to bring out the information from the Golden Dawn. If he hadn't done that, it would have been lost. And to bring out a lot of the best parts of Crowley, by the way, are Alan Bennett. They come from his teacher, Alan Bennett. It's the stuff taught to him by his teacher that he wrote down, which is a lot of the Eastern yogic and Buddhist exercises that he brought out to the public for the first time.
Yeah, he was quite a character, that's for sure.
Definitely that.
But I wonder, Jason, too, with Magick, because it's a kind of a boundaryless space, and it's a space with no space. I wonder if you don't have your own personal development in hand, and you go to take on something like what he did, I can see where things would really turn into a mess fast. Personally. So it does make sense that you work on yourself personally. In this day and age, there's many ways to do that before or along with your magical adventures.
I think that's exactly right. And by the way, Israel Regardie, who was Crowley's secretary and was, idolized Crowley to some extent, but also was appalled by Crowley, Regardie, who later became a Reichian therapist, said that people should have a year of therapy before they begin magic, and I think that's spot on. I wish that people continue to follow that advice.
Yeah, that is
makes good sense.
Advice. Absolutely,
and it's not like
it is
stop either.
Yeah, maybe more than a year. Just get started with that year and keep going. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been so great, Jason. We can't thank you enough for such a wonderful evening talking about all these exciting things. And again, please tell us again your website where people can go to participate in your classes.
Yeah, well, my personal website is jasonlouv.com, and you can find everything there. You can find all the new book. You can find all my books. You can find the classes, you can find blogs and podcasts, all kinds of great stuff. And you can follow me on Twitter at jasonlouv.com. And as a special gift, I actually have a free class on Magick for anyone who might be interested. And all you have to do, it's a free 7-day email course. It's full of podcasts and guided meditation and video training and lots of good stuff. All you have to do to get that class is take out your phone, text the word shaman, SHAMAN, to the phone number 44222, assuming you're in the U.S. Otherwise, you can go to my website and you'll find it. But it's the word shaman to the phone number 44222, and it'll send you back a text asking for your email. Give it your email, and it will sign you up for the course right away. And we can stay in touch through my list.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How wonderful.
Thank you.
What a kind gift.
I like it. Great magic trick. Well, thank
Delivered
you.
by the miracle of modern technology.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
again.
Thank you.
Please keep us posted. I'm sure you'll be doing another book soon. Next week, everybody, I believe we have Jerry Wills, a great healer, coming on board. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girlz.